everybody. Good evening. It is actually evening time. Friday evening I'm filming this. This is Jean's Block Party 2019. The block number 37. I'm filming it of an evening time because we've really had a day of it. I have a story to tell you. I'm going to show you my block first, and then if you want to listen to my story, I know some of you hate my stories, so you can click off. But I have a story. But first of all, block number 37. Real quick, I'll get to it. This is our block this week. Block number 37. Sweet, isn't it? What I've done is, it's a simple 9 patch, but with a few extra little bits. Again, we're using some smaller units, and in this regard, it's a 9 patch, but we're using 1, 2, 3, 4 square and square, and then I show you how to make this unit here with a strip piecing method, and then just our 3.5 inch center. As you know, that's what the blocks, the units end up being. I actually had it looks like 2 high contrast fabrics, a light and a dark. But if you notice up close, I used 2 different maroons. This was like a directional script fabric that I really wanted to use, and then this was another maroon fabric. I believe it was in the same. I believe it was in the same fat quarter from the same manufacturer. These 2. So real pretty little block this week. I did mess up this point here, and I'm looking at it. I didn't understand what I was doing. What are you talking about? I didn't understand. I understood what I was doing. I didn't sew it properly, and I put it together. And I thought, I cut the point off like 1/2 inch, and I added a hunk, and it didn't work. And I didn't fix it. I should have done. So do as I say. Don't do as I do. But all my other points match. You'd have to match this one. And there, it was interesting because I turned it around, and it was interesting because this block is funny, is going this way, and these are going in, but it ends up the proper way, all the way around. But the back of it, you see these 2 blocks are different. Funny that. But it ends up looking perfectly. So you just have to match these points here, these points here. I was thinking this block, if you're using scraps, we're using 2 colors, my burgundy and my tans this week. If you're using scraps, you could make each sort of ring around this square block into a different color, perhaps even the center a different color. So change it up. I do show you, the strip method and just square and squares. So that, folks, is our block number 37. So have at it. Oh, I think it's real pretty. Yeah, I love it. Love it. My story. Oh, my story. It's Friday evening. And I was just out with my husband and Maxwell. We went out. I needed to get out of the house. What happened was on Wednesday, this 2 days ago, I was sitting in here in my sewing room, and I'm sitting in here, and I can see through my sewing room and through my family room and into my backyard right there. And we have a swimming pool, and I can see all the way down the garden. And I'm sitting here. It's 5:30. It's what now? It's almost 6:15 on it's light out. It's bright. It's light out. So 5:30. I'm sitting here, and all of a sudden, my phone goes, and I'm thinking, oh, obviously it's a weather warning. We were advised that bad weather is coming. Now, we live in Pennsylvania, and we do have high winds. We do have a lot of flash flooding. We have a lot of snow in the winter time if we get a snowstorm. A lot of trees down, whatever. But this, I picked up my phone, and it said it was either tornado warning or tornado watch, whichever is the worst of the 2. Tornado. We're in Pennsylvania. I'm like, what? So I'm like, oh my word. So I go back to what I'm doing, and about 3 minutes later, and I thought, oh, again, tornado, they upgraded it. And I'm thinking, what? Well, about 2 minutes after that, I'm sitting here, and I'm looking, and it was bright. It was light out, lovely. All of a sudden, the sky got pitch black. I'm looking at it out there, and I'm like, it's pitch black. And the wind swirling, and the rain, torrential rain. And I said to Maxwell, and then the third time, the tornado, and I'm like, my husband was upstairs, Elliot was out out on the road. He texted us later. He was out. I said to Maxwell, run into our basement. Now, you have to understand, we have a beautiful finished basement. It's lovely. It's wallpapered, has beautiful carpet, has nice furniture down there. And I have down in my basement, there's 2 separate rooms. One is about 10 by 10. Each one is about 10 by 10. For my entire Etsy shop, quilt shop inventory. My entire inventory is down in my basement. And what I have is my quilts that I have made are all hanging from ceiling to floor. My husband made a fabulous hanging system, so I don't have to fold them, so I don't have to worry about nasty fold lines. My quilts are pristine when they get to a customer because they've hung in a very nice climate-controlled basement. And this hangs like when you go to a home goods shop and you see the rugs. That's how my quilts are hanging, a whole bunch of them. And then in my other place, there's my batting and all of my pillows and all of my shipping boxes and everything. I have everything quite organized in my basement in these 2 rooms. So I said to Maxwell, the main area is a big family area. So I said, Maxwell, run down into the basement. I'll be there in a minute. Maxwell runs down. In 2 seconds, Maxwell runs back up all wide-eyed. He's like, there's water in our basement. And I'm thinking, it's funny, this house is about 40 years old. We've lived here for about 28 years. And we have a creek down the bottom. And the house next door to us here and the house next door to us there, when it has rained, the basements, which are not finished, have flooded. Water coming into their basement. Our basement has never flooded. We've gotten water in our basement because a hose broke on the washing machine. The condensate pan in the boiler overflowed. We've had some water in our basement, but there's never been water in our basement. We have a dry basement, okay? And he's like, Mom, there's water. So I'm like, what? So I went running down into the basement, and in the corner of our basement, in the corner, we have a sump pump, which is in that corner. The sump pump I don't even think it has ever run. Our basement is bone dry. There's a closet with a water heater, and in that I opened the closet, and it was, and I'm not exaggerating, I tend to exaggerate, not exaggerating, it was as if a fireman had opened a hose, and water was gushing into the basement at such a rate, and all of a sudden, I'm pretty good, believe it or not, I'm pretty good in a disaster, in a situation. I'm like, okay, calm down. I go into full disaster mode. I'm screaming for my husband. Ian comes down. Because the water was coming into our basement at such a rate that I thought we have an 8-foot ceiling in the basement. It was going to be like a swimming pool filling up. And I have in my laundry room in the basement, which is the other side, I do exaggerate, but I have a million towels. I'm grabbing towels to try to, stop this flood. And then we have, not my quilts, we have blankets in the family room. I'm putting all this stuff. It was like the little Dutch boy with the finger and the thumb in the dike. This water. And all of a sudden I thought, oh no, my quilts. This is in one room with all my batting and my pillows and everything. Everything was up on tables. So I go into my quilt room and I can just see it coming under the wall, the dividing wall. It's seeping, all beautiful carpet, lovely carpet, all seeping in about 4 foot away from where my quilts are hanging. I'm thinking, oh no, hashtag save quilts, right? I'm starting to pull my quilts down, and after you have like 6 or 7 or 8 quilts in your arms, it's heavy, right? And I'm not that fit, and I'm like, I'm going out of that room, splashing puddles, and into my laundry room, which was at the other end of the basement, putting it on the washing machines, just throwing everything. And I'm fighting a losing battle. And then all of a sudden I just stopped. I'm like, forget it. Forget the stupid quilts. This is ridiculous. Where's Maxwell? Where's Ian? And I'm like, forget it. For the split second, I'm like, we're going to lose our house. Our basement's going to fill up. The wind and the water was swirling. I go upstairs, it's pitch black, and the wind is, and Maxwell, I go up, I open the door, or front door's open, and Ian's standing there, white. We're too old for this. And Maxwell was standing there, sodden, soaking wet, like a zombie, like, and he's like, has it stopped? And I'm like, well, I ran back down into the basement, and I could see that the majority of the water that was gushing in had stopped. Now, it was seeping in halfway. The floor was, the 2 rooms were pretty much done, halfway to my quilts. They weren't touched, and everything was on shelves, and then it had seeped about halfway into our beautiful finished family room, which has lovely carpet. Well, so I go running upstairs, and I'm like, yes, it stopped. And he's like, oh, okay. Here, unbeknownst to me, there had been trees and branches and all of this swirling debris that was on our roof and in our gutters and everywhere. And it had like that. Our gutters were clogged with branches and debris. Horrific. And what had happened was the driving, it was going sideways. It was going sideways, this water. And it was buffeting the house, and it had nowhere to go except down. At that point, down. We have a French drain all the way around the side of our house. It wasn't even doing anything. The force of this water was just going right down the foundation and into our basement. Never, ever in 40 years have we had that. We have a dry basement. Well, we didn't have a dry basement. And I didn't have a dry Maxwell. And I'm like, what? Here. Ian said to Maxwell, go up in your bedroom and climb out of the window onto the roof and remove all of this stuff. I'm in the basement trying to save my quilts, and there's Maxwell up on the roof. It's like 90-mile-an-hour winds and thunder and lightning, and I'm like, you said about like to get all this stuff. And anyway, it worked. It worked, and the basement. Our basement is just a mess. Is a mess. So, but the water stopped because immediately we have a good house. Immediately it stopped. So I'm like, okay, let's regroup. Let's calm down. For about those 5 minutes, I was in panic mode. I'm like, my quilts, nothing was ruined. They were safe, but in a heap, right? So Ian's like, put the kettle on. So a cup of tea always solves everything, right? I need a stiff drink. So I put the kettle on. I'm like, okay, forget the basement. I'm okay. Let's just have a cup of tea, right? The water's going. The wind had stopped slightly. I don't know if it was a tornado that touched down on my roof when Maxwell was up there, but it was, I've never seen anything like it, ever in my life. First time. Frightening storm. So I'm thinking, okay, have my cup of tea. Just going to go sit in my sewing room. I come in my sewing room here. Tons of water. I'm like, what? Here, the water, we have a door which has weather stripping on it. It's perfect. It's fine. It's awesome. The water was literally going sideways, just buffeting, and it just was coming under the door. And my whole floor, fortunately, I have most everything in Rubbermaid containers. So there was obviously no fabric or anything. And I caught it in time. Again, tons and tons of blankets and towels, which are outside. I can't face it. Although with the wet towels, I just can't face it. That was Wednesday night. So anyway, I'm like, oh my word. So Elliot called here. He was driving home, and he took shelter under a canopy in a gas station. He said, Mom, I'm really frightened. And Jen had sent me a text. She was in a car. She wasn't driving. She was in a car driving home from work from a trade show. And the hail, she was videoing it. She sent me a video. Horrific. She said, I'm so frightened. Everybody got home safe. I called our kids. Everybody was fine. Malia and Niles, who our son and daughter who live in Doylestown, they didn't have power until last night. Trees down, cars smashed, power lines down. It was horrific. A tornado, I guess, somewhere. Never seen a storm like it. Anyway, so that's my, so I'm like, oh my word. So that was Wednesday night, so very, very, very early. Our son Justin, who owns a restoration company from wind damage and flood damage, he came with his like 4 huge air movers and dehumidifiers. He set us all up to dry everything out. And then our son Jordan, he owns he's a public adjuster, so he said the phone was ringing off the hook. People with insurance claims with wind damage and hail damage and all sorts of things. So that was my saga. That's my story. I as I said, for a few minutes I was absolutely in panic mode, thinking we're going to lose our home. And then I thought, who cares? I was so concerned about I was saving my quilts and Maxwell's on the roof, but I was concerned about my husband. It was so horrific. And then I thought, everything's fine here. We have a good house, as I said. But I thought people have lost their homes. And all of this is just stuff, but it's our stuff. So then Elliot came home. Elliot all day yesterday, he started ripping everything out. Justin, who's a professional, who said, Mom, all the padding, everything has to go. Everything has to go. Padding just never gets dry, blah, blah. So he's ripping everything out. My basement, it's a big basement. We have a big house. It's a mess. So I'll put some pictures up. All my quilts, which are safe. We have 2 extra rooms, 2 extra bedrooms. Elliot was just bringing them up and just throwing them on the beds neatly. They're all fine. My travel pillows, all my batting. I have shelving units in my dining room. Everywhere is everywhere. So it's now going to be a process. We're going to we're going to sort it out and fix it. Obviously, but it was like once in our lifetime storm. Like I said, this house has been a good house, and it was the water had nowhere to go. It was horrific. I think we escaped luckily with just a few bits. So that's my story. So I was in a panic for just a little while. I really was. I was in a panic, and it's really, I haven't gone down the basement, and I'm like in my sewing. I'm like, forget the basement, my sewing room. I come in and see water. I was like freaking out, but everything's okay. We just mopped that all up real quick. So anyway, that's my story. So I have to regroup and calm down a little bit. So this block number 37. I didn't, as I said, Elliot yesterday was ripping everything out, trying to organize. I have to go into my front room, my 2 guest rooms, and try to sort out my quilts. And I've been making quilts. I've had my shop for 6-7 years now, and I've sold several hundred quilts, and I have quite a few in my inventory, as I said. But I was looking at the sheer mass, because now I'm not organized. I'm very organized down in the basement. Everything's in order, and now I'm not. It's in a huge heap up to the ceiling in my guest room. So I thought, all these quilts, so I thought, I'll have a sale in my shop. I'm going to hopelessly plug my shop right now. 40% off. I'm like, let me see if I can move some of this inventory. 40% off of any item over $100 in my Etsy shop. Truelove Quilts for you. If you want to tell your friends and family, if they want a holiday gift coming up, they're not inexpensive, but maybe they could be a little bit more doable at 40% off. Anything over $100 in my shop. You can just follow the coupon code to get anything 40% off. I think that's a pretty good deal. Try to get myself organized, and then we'll reinstate the hanging system. But until then, I have a lot on my plate. Ugh. And as I said, it is a mess. Anyway, that's that. I'll just go and have a cup of tea. That's our solution to everything. Anyway, there's my block number 37. Love it. Don't mess up like I did. I can actually see what I did. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. I went off. I went off the line. Oh, wow. Oh, well, looks great. Don't do that. I know you guys won't do it. I wanted to tell you next week, hopefully, this is in my mind before this happened. Next week will probably be our, block number 38 will probably be our foundation piece block. If you folks who wanted to do that. you're at a quarter ruler, you need a card, you need a nice rotary cutter. I have my rotating mat if you don't need that, but it's helpful. Seam roller, and I will go step by step when I can calm down, when I can do a tutorial on my foundation piece to block. Got to put my thinking cap on. So yeah, so that's that. Stay safe. I hope you folks, if any of you have been adversely affected by real tornadoes, have lost your home, it's your family and your pets. Oh my word, stay safe. We really got a taste, just a little taste of some of the disasters that are happening around the country, and my heart goes out to these people. Oh my word, critical times we're dealing with. Yes, critical times, hard to deal with, are here. So anyway, there's my little block. I want you guys to stay safe, and thank you very much for hearing me vent and listen to my story. Oh, before the calm before the storm, I'll put a picture up. Tuesday, we had a lovely meal. I had taken a meal to Justin and Janae because she just had her baby, their fourth baby, Tristan, and we took a meal up. We shared a dinner with them, and they live about half hour from here, a lovely home. I had a beautiful cuddle with my little grandchild, my little grandson. He's so calm, sweet, lovely little boy. So Janae took a picture, so I'll put my picture up of that. So that was lovely, and then all hell broke loose. Oh my word. But we're all cool. Everything's fine. So stay safe, folks, and thanks again. See you later. Bye. So good morning. This is block number 37 of our block party. As you can see here, I've cut the fabric, and I just wanted to explain something before I get into it. This is a two-color block. So you could use two different high contrast colors. I'm using my tans and my burgundies this week, but I've had this fabric here. I've used it just a few times. It's a directional print. It has this script on it, and I wanted to use that, and this block lends itself, as you will have seen, as will be making, to using my strip, in a strip method, this directional print, so you can see the actual writing instead of it skewed or instead of it cut into pieces. The corner pieces of this sort of circular, squared off circular block, I've used a burgundy, but it's another print. So I have three different fabrics here, but they look like two different colorways, a darker and a light. But by all means, fabric A is my dark. If you're using one dark solid, or one dark fabric, this is fabric A, and you're wanting to be cutting for 2 5/8 inch squares. Okay, that's the outside circular darker squares. You're going to be cutting one 3.5 inch square. Why are we cutting one 3.5 inch square? This is a 9 patch, simple 9 patch. Middle patch is a 3.5 inch square, and I like that because now I can use my script fabric as sort of my focal. And then I've erred on the larger side. We're cutting this into subsections anyway, but I've cut one 2 inch by 15 inch strip. 14 or 15 inches. We're cutting it down, and we're going to have a little bit left over. But that's fabric A. Whoops, let me put it in the frame. 4 2 5/8 inch squares, one 3.5 inch square, and one 2 inch by 15 inch strip or so. That's for fabric A, our darker fabric. Now, of our lighter contrasting fabric B, you're going to be cutting one, again, 2 inch by 15, 14 inch, 15 inch strip. And then you're cutting eight small 2 3/8 of an inch square. 3/8 of an inch square. Eve Ward has just sent me a comment. Very good thing on Amazon. There's an 1/8 of an inch ruler that you can. It actually really differentiates the eighths as we are working with smaller things. The 3/8, as you know by now, is the little line before 2.5, which is 2 4/8. So the small line before on a regular ruler, which does not show the 16ths of a thing, but they does show the 8ths. So 2 3/8 is the little line before the 2.5. So now what we are going to be doing, we are going to be subcutting these 8 2 3/8 inch. Let me get my ruler here. Whoops. We're going to be subcutting these on the diagonal. So we end up with 16 little triangles. Now we have our 16 triangles cut. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my sewing machine, and I'm going to sew together this light and this dark strip. Okay, I'm just going to go over. I'll just be back. I'll come back and after I finish this. I'm going to be sewing this dark strip and the light strip together. I'm going to be putting the pretty side to the pretty side and just sewing along there. I've sewn my strip set together here, and what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be subcutting these into 3.5 inch squares. I'll start at this end because my 3.5 inches over here. So now we have these, and now what we're going to do is we're going to put our block together. And I made a new design board. I got a it's a little bit more substantial. I got a cheap artist palette, artist canvas, and then I just put my darker. I like my dark piece of felt on the print here on the canvas. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to put it together, our 4-patch. Visually, we're going to put it together. So we're going to put this in the middle. My pretty. Let me see if that's it. Yeah, my pretty print there, my pretty script print. And then we're going to just build our block from there. Just show you. Let me see. Yeah, that's in there. And this just goes to the side. And this goes upside down, which is fine, the script, because either way you look at it, you'll be able to read it. But there you go. It's dark and light. Last week I sort of messed up on the contrast. This week I got it right. So now this block goes, we are making what? We are making square in square. So I'm just laying this out like this so that you can sort of envision it. We're just making a square in a square, and this is where our 16 little triangles come into play. There we go. Look how pretty. Did I use this? I don't know if I used this sort of a paisley before. I'm not quite sure if I had used that because it looked like I had a whole fat quarter left, and I thought, oh, I must use it. It's so pretty, so very pretty. So you see what we're doing? So we have these 16 little triangles here, and we've done square in squares. Look how pretty block. Simple 9-patch, but somebody had said they enjoy making blocks with more smaller units, and that's what we're doing now at this point of our block print. So there's our pretty block. It's so pretty. It's so lovely. It has a lot of interest this week. A little square and a square, and the darker. So now I'm going to go over to my machine, and I'll show you what I'm going to do now. So I'm over at my sewing machine. I've already done 2 of these, and I'll show you. These are the square in a square units here. So what we're doing is I'm going to just turn this around, and I'm going to take this off my my board here. And when we make a square in a square, what we have is these 2 triangles that are going on either side. They're going opposite, okay? And then when we make our square in a square unit, you must remember that when we cut them, the little triangles are hanging off, which then become like little dog ears. So we just stitch that onto that side. And then that, my camera's glitching up. Then this, we want to just sort of finger press. That's going to that inside, to the dark. Then with pretty sides together again, we take our another triangle, we do the exact same thing. And it sort of just meets in that little intersection and then right off. And again, that wants to go inside to the dark. So having finger pressed that, which is important, the triangles now have to be out. We're going to take our next two triangles, pretty side, and do the exact same thing. And as you can see, the way it's been constructed, the triangles hang off exactly like before. So in that little intersection, we want to start our 1/4 inch seam, go right through, and right through that little intersection. And that seam sort of wants to go up that way. So I'll just finish this off, pretty side, and we have triangles hanging off. We have our perfect square and a square. Well, it's not perfect. I now have to go and trim them up. So I'll finish making that other one. I'll press this, I'll set this, I'll press it, and then we'll trim these up. So here are our square to square and our block put together. Not being one to hide my mistakes, I cut off this bit somehow. I don't know, the points I added a little strip. I can't be bothered doing it over again. So that turned out really nice. I don't know if you can even see that. I added a strip on the side because I cut the point off. And I was squaring up and I'm like, oh Meg, that's not 3.5 inches. So what we're doing now is we're squaring our little blocks up here to 3.5 inches, which is so here's my my block ready to be put together. I just wanted to show you the back side. I've set and pressed my seams, and I always think it's fascinating how the blocks sometimes tell you where the fabric wants to go. I always say that. These have come into these seams, I guess because there's so many intersections here, have just naturally come into this here. Light or dark, doesn't really matter. But these have pressed out beautifully to the outside, and these have pressed in again to the inside. This has really been messed up. I really messed that block up. Look at that. It's a mess. I'm not going to fix it. It's fine. I really did the point off. I don't know what happened there. But it's all good. So now, my block, I'm going to be putting it together, and it's just a simple 9 patch. And again, look how beautifully those seams will nest. They match. Oops. Look did you see what I just did? Yeah, look at that. Me and my configuration. So yeah, so this seam here and this seam here are going to nest beautifully. So we have this sort of a circular ring, a sort of a single ring contrasting block. So what I'm going to do is making sure everything's right. Yes, my darks are out here. Whoops. I'm going to be putting the pretty side over to the pretty side, and those seams right there on my 9 patch, they nest beautifully. One's going one way, one's going the other way, and I will just sew that seam together and that seam together, and our block will be done. So there you go, ta-da! There is my lovely block with a lovely square and square around the block. It pressed up. Oh, I just want to show you the back, which looks just as lovely as the front, except for that one hunk that's cut off. Big point's cut off, but that's okay. These seams wanted to be pressed up. As I was setting the seams, I think with so many seams, you need to press them. Look at that. It's terrible. You need to press them really, really well. To set them really, really well, because when you have all of these seams, but for the most part, it's pressed beautifully, and it measures with just a few little bits hanging off. I want to be aware of my 1/4 inch, which is fine over there. There's my block. I was able to use a directional print, my block there, which is, you can see that, which is that pretty script. Oh yeah, friends are So sweet stitches, ladybugs are bring good luck, hearts, loving hearts, good life, blah, blah, blah. Your wings, be thankful, be kind. Yeah, lovely, sweet stitches. Life is good. You walk in the sunshine. Yeah, it's really sweet. I like that very much. So yeah, there you go. Block number 37. 2 high contrast fabrics. Mine look high contrast, but it's a little bit different. I like that. I like that. I from a distance, that is like big time 2 fabrics, right? But up close, it's 3 fabrics. So have at it. You can make these lighter. You can make your background darker. The world is your oyster. So there you go. Have fun, folks. This is block 37. Again, it'll be put up when it's put up. Busy, busy summer. Watch some reruns of mine. All right. We'll see you when we do. Bye-bye.